when I grew up, there were township surnames that were running businesses.
Okay.
You had your Malazas, you had your Mgunis. In Soweto, there was Maponyas.
Yeah.
In Tembisa, Sidibeng, Bokona
Otata,
Botata. You know, so those surnames were kind of the flagships of township business.
Sure.
So my mother is a Capricorn, my father is a Virgo.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Oh.
So they cut that name and they combined it.
Yeah, but didn't see it coming. Yeah.
And it became Caprivi.
Sure.
So the name Caprivi was inspired to be the flagship of whatever big business they were going to do.
Sure.
We want people, when they think of a vibe, they must think of a Caprivi. There's this one thing that I wanted to share was that overseas, you look at the word Jameson. Mm-hmm. Did you know that it's James and Son?
No. That's a new name.
Yeah, it's a new name. It
Sure.
was meant like that. The Hennessy brand, it's a long family business.
Okay.
The Glenfiddich is a family business. Kellogg's are a family business. Toyota, Mercedes, Benz is actually a family business. There's a struggle stage, all right? There's a survival stage, and there's a success stage.
Mujapilo no JP Forest phakathi kwequantum sirenga wonke umzansi boy isukile boy.
Let's go right to the sound of good times.
Another day, another dollar, another podcast, another episode, another opportunity to inspire and transform lives. Eitahola Shopfere, welcome to another exciting episode of the Quantum Podcast. I-podcast yasekasi, i-podcast yomphakathi, i-podcast yabantu, i-podcast yomhlaba wonke jikelele. Bafethu, I believe by now you already know. We are coming to you live from eHaya Food for Life emfihlweni section eThembisa e1632. So bafethu, as always, ku-passenger seat, ku-Quantum, akenzeki ngivaye ngiyi-one bafethu. So vandaag ngiphethe i-pioneer yasekasi, ngiphethe i-legend yasekasi. Mangamcabi lo muntu lo awubuye eThembisa bafethu. So, yazi ukuthi itafula lami liferne ngizoyenza ngesandla esi1 niyacava abantu abathola siba introducer kanjani bafethu. So drum roll. Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together for Hlogi Makau. Pratlo,
How are you?
okay.
I'm super.
Awe, man. Welcome to Quantum Podcast.
Yes, man. Thank you for the opportunity.
Sure.
Great production, and I'm very impressed.
Siyabonga.
Yes.
Mara yazini mfethu. Yabona ifuture yethu. Bright too much fana. For ukuthi ngahlala ngashaya izazi. Ivayizaza lami mfethu. Ngeke.
You want to add as well?
Most definitely.
Let's keep
The
it.
episode 8 December. Yeah. Nakava bafethu, I said it before, angicoko izazi ukuba smart, just the future's too bright. Awe. So, Pratlo, nale question ephela ributisa batho yabo. Ukuthi grand when I was the last time uphakathi kwequantum because samcaha uPratlo sihlale simbona vange ngokuthi sithope ikasi. iQuantum uyigcine nini or kwagibela nje yona before?
Yeah, no. I think you can never
Sure.
and never be in a taxi.
Sure.
Quantum came at the time when Sisakibela Mazola Band.
Sure.
It was the first exciting taxi because each and every young person at that time wanted to ride a Quantum.
Right.
So I rode a Quantum to Johannesburg. I rode a Quantum to Captain Park when I was studying at CPA.
Okay.
But also a friend of mine is in the tour business, Mpo. Tours, and he actually bought himself a Quantum, and we did tours around the country.
Oh,
yeah. So I think those are moments.
Sure.
Yeah.
So welcome back to Quantum.
Thank you. Yes, nice name, eh? Nice name. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So who's Hlogi?
Hlogi is a guy from Hospital View, Tembisa.
Sure.
Born and bred in the heart of Tembisa. The eldest son of the late Daniel Hlogi Makau, and blessed with my mother, Esther Makau. I have a younger sibling, Naledi Makau. So, well, my parents met in Daid in Mtambega, had their thing. I was the firstborn.
Sure.
And then we moved into Hospital View. And then I grew up there because Hospital View was more like the suburbs Sakutebisa, you know, the first
which is
suburbs,
boy, baby,
which
which
was
is boy.
so I'm a cheese and balloon.
Sure.
Yeah, so grew up there, went to St. James Primary School,
Okay.
and then
That was somewhere.
yeah, somewhere, yeah,
Okay.
that's where we learned discipline. I think that was one of
St. James, you have a
best
talk, ne?
No, too much. It was the private school of that
Sure.
time, and then obviously went to Sepier High School.
Oh, you product
I see.
disappear.
Yeah, product disappear. We were actually the first blacks, eh? We were only 15, I think it was in the 90s.
Yo.
And we also became the first black prefects.
Sure.
We led a multitude of youngsters back in the days in the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty
all
very
brothers.
singabantu ababloma nama-trendset yabo
Yeah.
because of 2 weeks back besibloma nesipesi esihlangu
Yes.
naye uthi e-war school basically
Yes.
I think bebayi-15 now
Yeah. We
like
started with 15.
ama-blacks bebayi-15
Yes.
manje I think bayi-1,000 something.
No, they took over, yeah.
Sure.
So the journey, I went there. And then obviously from Sepier, I went and I finished my studies there to go study ecom accounting. But in my high school, I was very passionate in football. You know, loving sports so much because each and everything at that time. That was when the 90s of the Bafana were trending.
Yeah.
So we grew up, and then my mother was an accountant, so she inspired me so much
Okay.
to actually study accounting. So yeah, in a nutshell, that is my upbringing in the high school days. Went to obviously study at UNISA, at Rao, which is now called UG.
Sure.
Yeah, so
Oh, okay, there's
yeah.
another teacher's food.
Yeah, no, I was smooth. Dala, he
Yeah.
was actually at Vets.
Yeah.
Bibaibisa,
No, uthi bekaseRao.
BekaseRao,
Oh,
yeah.
bekaseRao.
Do you remember there were different campuses
Oh,
at that time? Yeah.
okay.
So I mean, I studied there. Obviously ended up to finish my degree with UNISA.
Sure.
So yeah, those were the high school days and the varsity days.
Yeah. Bekunjani kaso sakhula uthi yabo because of kulesi khathi lesi sabo babumnguni abo Smith abo inini asikhulume kahle like since ku business about those surnames that are associated to business at Thembiso ukuthi abobani lawa because I believe now you from that surname so
Yeah.
any pressure bengakanani kuwe.
All right, I think you know what. The time I was, let's talk about the time because I think
Sure.
it was cool at Tembisa. Back in the days, it was the 90s.
Yeah.
In the 90s, the township was very dead, business-wise.
Okay.
Those years, actually, it had come from the 80s because remember the 80s were more the time of the violence because the country was about to transform into democracy.
Okay.
So there were not a lot of service outlets in the township. So when I grew up, there were township surnames that were running businesses.
Okay.
You had your Malazas, you had your Mgunis. In Soweto, there was the Maponyas.
Yeah.
In Tembisa, Sidibeng, Bokona
Oh,
Botata.
yeah.
You know, so those surnames were kind of the flagships of township
Sure,
business.
sure.
But my dad was a very ambitious entrepreneur. He had worked for several years
Okay.
as a retail manager,
Yeah.
Eastgate, Pretoria. So I think he got the entrepreneurial skill to actually want to get into the world of business. So we were not such a popular family. I came from, they were very, very, very humble.
Okay.
Let's say not so rich, not so poor, not so, you understand, there was no middle class, but
Sure.
he actually entered. But you can see at that time, we were traveling like any other kid. Ukibela ngamabhasi, sama ngamatrain, those were the common
Transport.
way of transport.
Sure.
And the township was not vibrant with the economy of entrepreneurship.
Ubugebengu kunjani uthiyami because of I believe ngesikhathi sama-toaster amadala ingozi.
My brother. Talking about those days, I think
Yeah.
gangsterism at that time. Remember now, it was that time of 1990, 1994.
Sure.
That was in Qatar versus ANC, guys, when they were fighting.
Yeah.
And I was very young. I mean, at the age of 14, I didn't understand a lot. But the township was dark.
Okay.
There was no prosperity. There was no economic direction. There was no political direction.
Sure.
And my comrade were actually the role models. And Ubutsotsi was huge because those were the days where we used to see Yama 325 and Rula commonly.
Yeah.
Were popular names that were actually now frequenting. So each and every young person just knew each and every top Tsotsi guy in Okshini. And I think though it was happening, it was not something that necessarily excited me.
Okay. Amachita wonke akwi-generation yakho nabakhuluma ngekasi bazokutshela ukuthi bona baba-inspire igebengu yabo. So wena yini beyenza ukuthi uhluke kubo?
I think the integration. Remember that was the time when now in 1992 we went to study a SAPA.
Okay.
So we integrated a lot with Indians, with Chinese, with whites. So
okay.
that itself gave us an opportunity to experience an environment which was not predominantly Ilogishli one.
Okay.
You understand?
Sure.
Not to attack, but obviously Lokishin, there were best schools like your Tebisa High
Yo,
School,
Tembisa
TKM,
Sure.
Nazivele, Ebusasa. And then you go and you join other kids and you compete with your Sepier, Springs High, Bonero, Bedford High. So
Okay.
yeah, so that transition you go to now when you most get training and you are jumping to a location, it was a kind of different both of worlds.
Okay.
So you knew there was a future in another world. It just not became Uti Lokish was the only place that you could actually succeed in.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Asirenge Caprivi uthi because of angeke ukhulume ngohloko ngakhuluma ngeCaprivi. Awuthi yami sithi masiphume eThembisa uyeso wethu noma uyakuphi mawucala batshela ukuthi uyeThembisa into yokucala bazokubuza ngayo ukuthi uyayicaba iCaprivi or uhlala ngakuphi ngaseCaprivi yabo so eThembisa bebedefine ngeCaprivi. So what is Caprivi number 1? What is the meaning of Caprivi? Igama lethi Caprivi libuyaphi lichaza ukuthini and what is Caprivi?
Yeah, so it goes
It's
back to the passion that my father had.
Okay.
So my dad in the 90s was diagnosed with cancer. He had to leave his employment at Woolworths and he actually had to start his own business.
Okay.
And he started, his first business was a salon and then he moved on to go to the butchery, to the bottle store. So interestingly, he had an old lady and as they were planning the business journey together, they had a name and that name was Caprivi. So my mother is a Capricorn, my father is a Virgo.
Okay.
Do you understand? So they cut that name and they combined it.
Yeah, but didn't see it coming. Yeah.
And it became Caprivi.
Sure.
So the name Caprivi was inspired to be the flagship of whatever big business they were going to do
Sure.
together. And they would call it business. So as my dad, Asha, when he was a tenant in certain business places, he didn't use that name up until he bought the first building, which he called Caprivi. And so that was how the name Caprivi actually started into making inroads as a business in, I think, the early 2002, 2005, 2006, yes.
Yeah. So taking over from Itaima, the pressure being gonna.
Yo, my brother, let me tell you, taking over, you are never ready when you take over from a business, but you're always prepared.
Okay.
And the one thing that I can tell you about Braden, the late Braden, is that he was such of a pioneer and a visionary in everything that he did.
Yeah.
You know, his artworks in terms of displaying the business and the features. So what he did is that he would actually go around with me. So whenever we were going to a bank, I would be sitting down with him.
Okay.
When we were sitting with the attorneys, I'll be listening. This was done during school holidays. Harry Akoli suppliers, when I was buying stock, I'm the one who packs the beers.
Okay.
I'm the one who actually makes it a point to, you know what, so I didn't know that was a preparation for an unfortunate and unplanned departure because it happened at a very young age. I think I was just had graduated and having ambitions of corporate. And there you are, and then you are taking over because your father has passed on. And there is no proper communication, but there was a proper succession training that allowed you to understand because he kind of knew, I think he knew, you know, I wouldn't live long. And
then,
because of the care.
Sure.
Yeah, but remember I was young and I thought, no, he would be sick and come back. But he kind of knew and he exposed me from that. But I had an energetic preparation, but not a long-term preparation.
Okay, let's talk about the importance of succession plan and also the grooming.
It's very important. Let's take the family thing. So you must understand that in our family, my father loses a job. Okay, and then Mara is the only person that works in the corporate field.
Sure.
So my dad has to survive All right.
Yeah.
So the economy of every business starts ending because that's where you guys need to survive.
Sure.
So when that thing starts, it
Yeah.
means we need to look at whether the funds that come into the family will be able to take the kids to school.
Yeah.
It will be able to educate or extend the house.
Sure.
Educate the kids. It will be able to actually extend the house, whatever ambition is there. So the importance of succession is that there always has to be communication. All right. Kids, parents, and their kids need to always communicate
Sure.
to ask the child, what are your ambitions beyond high school? What are your ambitions beyond varsity?
Yeah.
And when I got into that business, it was a matter of saying, we planned. So my father was my best friend. So we'd sit down. He would always say, we need to become one of the most successful township families.
Okay.
You understand?
So he had a plan.
He had a plan.
Sure.
And I remember in one of our plans, he said to me, do me a favor. We want people, when they think of a vibe, they must think of a Caprivi.
Okay.
You understand? So just like
So
when
lento
people-
didn't happen by accident.
No, it didn't happen by
Tama
accident.
liplanile,
He planned it because he
Sure.
would say, just like when people say, I want a cold drink, they'll say Coke.
Coke, yeah.
So when people
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
come and dance
Yeah.
in auction, they'll
To-
say, I see in a Capri.
Sure, to an
So,
extent
yeah.
yonke i-cold drinks abayibiza nge-Coke.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then so we started,
Wonke
yeah.
ama-toothpaste bawabiza nge-Colgate.
Yeah, so we started on an aggressive marketing campaign. So
Sure.
my job was to make it a point that there were banners in each and every corner. I was the one who was responsible to kind of engage with artists, bring them the other side. So you understand that the succession question that you're talking about, it's all about preparing that person who doesn't know. It's like you preparing Upalisa for the future events or future podcasts that are about to come.
Sure.
But you need to trust your team.
Sure.
So the family becomes the first teamwork. You need to have people that you trust
Yeah.
so that you can identify their skills,
Sure.
their potential,
Yeah.
and their abilities.
Yeah.
And then when you give them small tasks and small abilities, they'll transform them in future.
Sure. Abafundisi, I believe never mastera the system because of umfundisi, unfortunately, he's forced ukuthi afundise intwana yakhe ukuthi idlale keyboard. Because ama-keyboardist azoyenza azokudisappoint. Then you are forced to train your son.
Yeah,
to
no,
play
therefore,
keyboard. And
yes.
uma umtrainer kanjalo, automatically makadlala, iyamforce ukuthi aye church every Sunday. The more ahleli, the more preacher phambi kwakhe uyafunda naye.
Yeah, so what you are doing, you're incubating
Sure.
the child within
Sure.
the business environment.
Yeah.
Because remember, each and everything that it's built by a parent must be extended.
Sure.
But ukuzala ukwandisa, right?
Sure.
But you look at it, it doesn't actually start with blacks. It started more with Indians and more with the Jews and the whites.
Sure.
When they said, when a farmer, a white farmer would actually breed a son of a farmer. That's why you've got your Free State farms,
Yeah.
all right, and you've got your Stellenbosch farm. You go into Indians. There's this one thing that I wanted to share was that overseas, you look at the word Jameson. Did you know that it's Jameson son?
No. That's a new
Yeah, it's a new
information.
name that it
Sure,
was meant
it's
like
new
that. The
information.
Hennessy brand, it's a long family business. The Glenfiddich is a family business. Kellogg's are a family business. Toyota, Mercedes, Benz is actually a family business.
Okay.
So part of the things is when you incubate your
Yeah.
family, you need to make it a point to when you give birth,
Yeah.
you make it a point that you want your kids to carry on because the leaders will have a DNA of how the business is operating because they are the ones that observe their leader, who it maybe their father or maybe the mother.
Sure. Okay, usakhuluma ngalokho asikhulume nge-importance of generational wealth because of ekhaya unfortunately that's why amabhizinisi abhayawile yabo because of umuntu uzothi thama lami lungisa imoto mina ngincane dilende ngizogcwala ama-oil yabo akafuni ukufunda yabo ukuthi at least ithama malingasekho mina ngitake over sometimes awudingi ukuthi ugcwala ama-oil wena ungahire abo-mechanic understand but as long as you understand the business.
Yeah, but fortunately, let me describe. There are 3 stages of a business. There's a survival stage, all right, the struggle stage. Sorry, there's a struggle stage, all right, there's a survival stage, and there's a success stage.
Okay.
A lot of these businesses that were started in the township is because people were struggling.
Okay.
They didn't even understand that what they were doing, it will actually lead them to the ultimate survival and success.
That's why mabalambile endlini bekathumela umntana
You understand? Yes. Because thina baskula kabo Tshepo bebathengisa ama cold drinks.
Sure.
Kabo Lerato bebathengisa ama kip. Kabo Vusi bebathengisa ama cod. Do you understand?
Sure.
So all those businesses were for actually a struggle. They came out of the struggles of the family.
Okay.
But when they started progressing, they started to survive. You understand? Making the point that they could actually fix the houses, they could actually take those kids to school.
Sure.
And then ultimately, before they know it, they were not aware that now they were succeeding.
Okay.
That's why you had the likes of Maponya, or that you had the likes of your the Mgulis families that have succeeded beyond. Do you understand?
Okay.
So what now happens about generational wealth is that generational wealth is a goal that we all strive to have it.
Sure.
But it takes a lot of business skills, because a business that was started in the township, unfortunately, the market as a township might not find it appealing over the years.
Sure.
So the strategy is, when you want that generational wealth, is that you need to diversify your portfolio. That's why now, when a lot of people were starting amatics, long distance, long distance, then they actually have that. And then in our business model, which I come from is that you started with a bottle store. After you have a bottle store, you need to have a butchery. Then you have to have a lounge, because you create the ecosystem. But now the danger is that with the businesses is that they are now built to be micromanaged. They are not built to be emulated and to be multiplied, that you can be able to sell them as franchises, Kwamashu, in Soweto, in other areas. So generational wealth is actually an ultimate if you diversify your profits or if you diversify your business expertise.
Okay. Sakhuluma ngamabhizinisi asefeyilile, ama-supermarket abhayi siyawabona siwarana amakhulu manje. So let's talk about the failure behind Caprivi. Yini ekhawathi Caprivi?
Well, for me, it was a very beautiful story. So I took over from the age of 27. And when I took over, it was a family business I needed to maintain. All right?
Wangena
choice. My dream was to become a chartered accountant, because I had seen how my mother was changing jobs in the corporate world.
Okay.
She was very good, you know. And then that inspiration, she was employable.
Sure.
So now, and your dad was teaching you how to run a business on my holidays. And you felt, no, listen, dad is actually succeeding in his business. Mom is thriving in her career job. So what happened is that I ran 27 years. I ran from the age of 27 till 2017. 10 years. The best 10 years of my life. I'm telling you, I learned everything in that business. You know, I had all cycles of the business. The ups, the downs, the losses, the heartbreaks, things going well, things not going well. So we ran, obviously, after 10 years, you are now the master of that business. And I think along the line, my passion waned and it waned. You understand? Because it was now becoming so common.
Sure.
And my mother would always ask me, is that, what kind of allegation? Do you understand?
Sure.
The business how, you know, and I want to see you going further than where you are now, because you took over and you've paid us the price. And she would say it next to my sister, you know, and I actually never understood at that time. And then when I was young, family trips would travel with my dad, and he would always show me properties. And what happened with those properties is that he'll always say, hey, look at that house. I think that's where the installation of the property business came in.
Okay.
Then there was a woman who was running a shopping complex who said to me, listen, I want you to come and buy a business. And I'm selling it. I had $500,000 in my bank account, and I said, listen, I want to move and diversify. And I don't want to do this beer thing every long.
Okay.
Now let's go into property business. And then I went to my family and I said, Ma, listen, man, I know I've been working, but the problem, I don't have a pay slip. I'm just the manager. I'm just that thing. So that I can be able to buy this property. And my mother felt, no, the property was too proximity. It was a competitor's property. So just leave it. You know, and I felt I did not take that rejection quite well. So I said, you know what, let me go try. I took that $500,000, and at that time, guess what? Shimza was inspiring us in my festival.
Sure.
You know, and the festivals were doing well. And when they were doing well, I said, listen, let me come up with a different product. I started what we call the Afro Soul and Jazz Picnics.
Okay.
And the goal was to bring your mature crowd and your mature bands.
Yeah.
So I brought Zonke in 2015. Zonke, it was such a successful festival.
Yeah.
But that 500,000 came back and they put 300,000. So I lost 200,000. The business is still operating. I'm still running Caprivi. The support is there. People are coming. So you are doing it.
So the festival, good
profit. But there's no profit. I think it was my first time. There were a lot of things that expenses were there, and we overexpensed ourselves. So I said, no, listen, it's okay. Let's raise another 200,000. We went the second year. The second year, the day before the event, we had to change the venue in Karing to a Drisnimand.
Okay.
I took the event to Drisnimand. I lost 200,000. Now you're going. Now what is happening? You're affecting the cash flow of your bottle store. Because who was my partner? My family business, my business. So you are trying something, because remember now I was trying to diversify. But I think along the way. And then year 2017, I know it killed me. The numbers were good. People were promising. There were likes. There was promising. It became so cold. I lost 600,000 in one day.
Instead of lose.
And the thing is this, because I had this thing, it will work. And I'm learning. So we were improving in other areas, but we never saw the poor attendance and the bad weather on that day. It hit me so bad.
Yeah, most definitely, because you cannot predict the weather. Because sometimes you plan an event like December or September.
Yeah, no, I remember it was April 25th to the 27th.
Sure.
It hit me so bad that now the cash flow of the business is affected. There's now minus 600,000 from the business accounts. I started owing SAP. I started owing Brand House. I started owing Distel. I started owing all my key suppliers who were the main source of stock for the businesses. My brother, I remember ngihamba ngithenga stock kubuveli. Ngithenga stock kubu Cooper. Not that there was anything wrong, but remember now I've lost accounts. I've lost accounts, and now I want a lot of stock. I've been buying stock which are sports bar. Now you are having a demand, and the problem came now also with the rates and taxes. Because now my Eguruleni was hitting me now with the billings of monthly rates and taxes, and I was now no longer servicing my rates and taxes. So your working capital, my working capital dried out. I went to try to knock, but yeah, that was the story.
You are a brand, so I believe your name should open doors for you.
When things go down and you are at your lowest, and you start thinking, no, I think my phone had over 9,000 contacts. I knew everybody, and then I went there with my case study of what is it that I was suffering from. Because the business was no longer doing that thing. My brother, people were listening, but no help was coming. And it was so sad, because then I thought these were the people that I knew personally. But then maybe because they saw the predicament, the situation, they would come in and assist. No.
And by us,
No. I mean, there was this one guy, I remember I was hiring tents from him. I'd given him a lot of business. In my desperate point, the treatment I got, I mean, I even went and I actually had a partner for a short period of time. I got injured because now people were thinking I was actually now so desperate, and they could actually help me in my business. So kwapela, you try to phone friends, you try to phone close people. It didn't work. I mean, there was one only family member that helped, and while we were helping, it actually became so badly because it couldn't sustain. So the graph was just showing with everything is going down. And I ended up owing everyone.
So I believe they were taking advantage of your situation.
No, they did. Because they wanted Caprivi. And they knew what it was capable of. But they wanted me at my desperate point. So their trade-off was, no, in return. So you're vulnerable. You are bound to agree to terms because you're not thinking straight. You know, you want to make it a point that when your customers come, at least,
They're trying to exploit you.
they're trying to do that. But somebody has an ulterior motive. And what's so sad, the very same friends that you start thinking are your friends, they start thriving and talking badly about you because now you're nothing.
Yeah.
You understand? Now you're nothing. You cannot command. Yeah. Yeah, no, I win. And I think that is where they came in, and some of them confused my family. You know, they confused my sister on how they would run the business better than I could. They confused my mother. Okay. So I remember being sat down in the house and I got a call. My sister telling me, oh, no, listen, we got a better offer. We see that you're struggling. And Mama Ari, please stop operating. We are going to get tenants to run the business. And you understand, when you get a call, I woke up to understand that this is not my business. It's a family business. Yeah. I don't mean to support you.
How long this is my business until what?
Yeah, I was Hlogi Caprivi, Hlogi the man. And now something dawns to me to say, no, this is not your business, man. This is your mother and late father's business. And it's owned by your family.
Asile ngestori sakho sase Irene. You thina mangizwa leso story leso. Ngamangala ukuthi umuntu ofana noHlogi angasithola kuleyo situation leyo. Plus vele kazi vele waziwa ngale trans yakho ukuthi ha uHlogi ngale trans yakhe le intswembu le yabo. So then the next thing you go to a petrol station, uthela igazole. In fact, singasikhulumi le story share. Angisiyekele kumnikazi.
So at my lowest, obviously your circle starts becoming that, because I lost out. I think when I lost friends, I lost income, I lost the business reputation. My partner decided, no, it's no longer going to work. And then obviously I couldn't afford basics. Do you understand? My kids left, and then that was it. And then I actually now am traveling in the street, and I'm trying to hustle in the property, because remember the property thing was obviously something that I joined partially, you know, because I wanted to grow in that space, but not yet committed to that matter. So I'm driving from Johannesburg to Pretoria. I'm giving a call to say, come to a meeting. And then as I'm driving, in my thoughts, I get a garage. It's in petrol here, 750. You know, and I call my sister. I send me 250. She sends me 250. At that time, she puts money, and there's a stop order that goes in. And I've already poured petrol. Now I'm at the garage. And in my mind, I'm driving my nice BMW. I'm driving a nice BMW, suited up. You understand? I'm nice, man. Yes, I'm nice. Yeah, I'm looking also good. Direction you're meeting, the confidence is still there, self-confidence is still there. Now, guess what? I don't have money for petrol. I had to stand a garage asking people 50 rand, 100 rand.
But kanjani 50 rand uqobisa out yama wabona ngathi lo muntu yaskema.
You'll land at the point of being humbled. And I think that's what a good fall does. When you are falling, it's a bad fall because you feel the pain. But that's what a good fall does, because now you are at the level that you never thought you would arrive. I never knew that level.
Never imagined that.
Because from a family perspective, it was protected. From my life, I protected it. And now things are falling apart. And when things are falling apart, nowadays I'm falling apart as well. And then you're sitting at the garage with 50 rand. And then somebody's like, hey, how would we win? 20 rand. But I had to raise that money to be able to at least do that. And I remember common faces seeing me.
I was about to ask that question. With my
I'm telling you, because now you are begging, and you are the one that's supposed to be giving. I was a giver, you know. I was the one who was giving out the alcohol. I was the one who was entertaining the people. Now I'm on the other side, where now I have to beg, to ask for assistance. So I'm sitting down, and I had to. It took about 2 hours, and then I knew it was over. That was over. Child.
So I believe when the common face okhuluma ngabakubona now sekuba confirmation story sama drugs.
Yeah.
Hasn't getting my drugs.
Yeah, kuma drugs.
Hasn't getting my drugs. Because kuthiwa uHlogi the reason akhawathekile beka busy nabo girl,
Yeah.
udla inyuku nabantwana and beka shaya ama drugs strong.
And you know, this was the most shocking story, ne? And my brother, I'll tell you one thing, is that when you are nothing, it's easy for people to give names to you. So there, I just told you the story. But what I like about the opportunity of this podcast is that time will tell.
Most definitely.
Do you understand? Sure. This is the opportunity to tell.
Sure.
So I'm at home clearly one, and then my sister's like, "What's this I hear that you're on drugs?" Me drugs.
Yeah.
First of all,
I believe one of the reasons your family decided to sit you down ngalendaba yokuthi sithola ama tenant and stuff is because of babacaba ukuthi
yeah, apparently. They were sold. So the guys that wanted to come in and take over the business were obviously mobilizing. Instead of them helping and saying, no, Ntwana urana sharp, izinto zakhe sharp, uhloku grain. But this was a turn where the rumor was that he's doing drugs. Number one, I don't smoke.
Yeah.
So I know that the hierarchy of a drug is that you have to start smoking.
One of the rappers asemzansi uMax uneline athi izithi seduze izizibukhali because they come as friends and change in the end.
No, I like that. I like that.
Sure.
Yeah, so the situation is amazing because now I'm at my lowest. I get a call. Now they say, Hlogi, where's the drugs? I don't smoke. I used to drink with these people. All right, now, you know, I used to touch my nose. All right, now everybody's suiting. No, Hlogi, Nashapari drugs. Now you be like a mon.
Yeah.
You know, I saw him in his joint doing that. And then there's another rumor they say, no, I saw him in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Now everything starts becoming. Which means I was doing drugs. Now, my brother, let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
I still say it in my father's grave and in Jesus' name. I didn't do drugs.
Okay.
And if I had an opportunity to encourage young people, I would be the first person to say, don't do drugs.
Okay.
But I didn't know that well. The only thing that I knew enjoyed as a drug was alcohol. Still today.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
And people, certain friends who knew that I was now nothing, they baphuza ibhodlela ngami, and then they would talk about what we would do. So the latest thing came as well. But what was funny, it was when we were running a business back in the days, there was no Uber. So our Palisa would come and dance at the place. Now Palisa comes and dances in the place. She knows very well what
I'm gonna
transport. Now, automatically when you are going to deliver a girl, each and every girl in your club is now your girlfriend.
Okay.
Right? And not that I was on drugs, not that I was he's also sick. He's HIV positive because of these girls. You know, so when I was dating after, some people are testing. I had one girlfriend who tested me and said, no, before we date, here's a HIV test. I'm like, why? It's like, no, man, you know you've got your bad reputation. And I was so comfortable. So I think because I was nothing. No, that's what happens when you're nothing to them because they didn't value me. And it was I became such a subject matter because now I'm at their level. So when you're at the level, I was now ordinary. It was ordinary.
And imagine this bad repetition. Yeah, coward business wise because now no one wants to associate with you.
No one did. Yeah, no one did, and I had to leave Hlogi Makau. Yeah, but for me, I didn't leave because go view, hospital view. We have a family property go Rankisfontein, Midrand, and then it was easier for me to cut out the township because I was working. Do you understand? So I was no longer working there.
Sure.
So if
So
I'm now
you
staying
don't have a
in
reason to
Midrand,
come to Tembisa.
I don't have an interest
Sure,
to do. So
understand.
now the part 2 of my life needed me to go and reinvent myself.
How did you survive? That's the next question.
Yes. Well, smart families. I think I come from smart parents, and I was a smart individual.
Okay.
The one thing that I did when I started working at Caprivi, remember my dream was to become a chartered accountant.
Sure.
And when my friends that I went to university went to start working at your Auditor General, your Investex, they went into all these powerful auditing firms, your PwC,
Corporate, yeah.
KPMGs, because my friends, a lot of them were there. So I took that mentality of corporate and I was saving.
Oh.
So as I was working, I did have a life cover, I did have a pension fund, I did have emergency funds, I did have those investment there. So at those days, they kicked in. So I managed to have smaller monies that I was saving, all right? And also the property business within the family. There was one property that was actually assisting me with a basic salary that I was getting. Well, I could not manage that life. I had to readjust that lifestyle because I had to sell that BN. And I had to sell my man, I was so broke. Even the sheriff was my best friend because he was calling me every time to say to me.
So what's the number?
No. He was like, so you know that game. SAPS just called me. I thought Puma Genify le brand house. You're owing so much. So in my collapse, I remember having to sit down and I said I had land. And I bought that land in 2007. My father passed on in 2006. I did not buy myself a car. I'm not a car person. So I bought it in 2007 for about 200,000. By the time I sold it in 2017, it was 750,000.
Okay.
I decided, let me take my land and sell it, and I'm going to start all over again. Then when I did that, I paid off everyone.
Okay.
From credit cards to suppliers. I lost it all. So I had to take that money land and actually start all over again. And the goal was to become debt free. Remember now I had too many debts.
Sure.
My credit record, my brother, I was beyond
Don't qualify even your phone.
I was over blacklisted. I was over blacklisted. Like
Sure.
blacklisted was not enough. I was triple blacklisted. I was in the bad
Sure.
books. So that property just gave me that income. But one thing that I did is that I became a real estate agent.
Okay, asibuyele kancane Caprivi. Because Caprivi bekuyindawo ethu I believe even the up and coming artists vele bebanokufuna ukuperforma la and stuff. So what role did you play ukubagroma, like, because of ukuba nama comedy session, like hip hop shows and stuff?
So I think I discovered my skills, that I was not an accountant. I was basically a person who was very good in sales and marketing.
Okay.
Do you understand? And I took it from my dad. But in the 10 years, that's what I developed. Because for you to survive in the business of entertainment and the business of leisure in the township, you needed to be creative.
Okay.
So my journey was interesting.
Yeah.
I was one of the best township facilities. We won Best Lounge, I think, in 2010.
Yeah.
Black Coffee played at my joint. I mean, I used to pay Black Coffee in Mali that I wouldn't afford today.
Yeah.
And then my best discoveries was Ushimza and Uskumba.
Yes.
I'm
I
the
remember
first,
winner my channel O, like the channel O competition. Caprivi banikeza abantu airtime for free to vote for Shims.
Oh, for
So
sure.
did you sponsor that?
Well, it was.
Okay.
We started the first battle of DJs. We actually started at the Caprivi.
Okay.
The one-man show started at the Caprivi.
Okay.
The first one-man show.
Alright.
Shimza started it there. I was the first owner to put boards and actually banners about the DJ Shimza. And he took over the balcony. There was a place called the balcony, Begashama balcony session.
Sure.
What a very brilliant boy. Very intelligent. He was creative. He was very passionate, but at the same time was very creative with the place. So Caprivi was like the maker of entertainment in Tembisa. So DJs wanted to come in that time.
Yeah.
That was our best, I think, production, because from there he grew. One-man show could not fit into a Caprivi. Then it went out to actually grow out. My second best discovery was Uskumba.
Uskumba, yes.
Uskumba, very humble guy, down to earth, and the idea, it was simple. I went to Motor Casino to go watch with David Gau when they were at their peak at that time. I tried to call the guys to say, come and do comedy in the township, but they were not interested because comedy then was a town product. It was big in the suburbs, but not big in the township.
Sure.
So I saw Skumba, I think it's about a ground in my Phillies game, and I approached him. And I said, my brother, listen, man, I've got a joint. I want you to come and do comedy sessions. I will pay for the marketing. You guys then will activate the comedy sessions. We had about 20 to 15 people on our first show. I lost 1,005 on that day. You understand? Because we were building something. And it was him and Tolesmo. I mean, I also got Tolesmo. But what I like about their condition, Tolesmo was more suburban. So he could actually do a classic comedy show. And Tolesmo will take Uskumba, they will do what we call comedy entertainment in Centurion. So they would actually do that. So my best discoveries were then. And the list goes on. I mean, all the DJs, I mean, also your fingers worked with us very well. We had Abu Khati that they came out of. USB, I gave USB that name. DJ, Smooth.
Okay.
I said, stop calling yourself Smooth.
What's
Call
this
DJ Smooth. Call yourself USB. DJ Fresh, or Refreshing. Refreshing. I gave him the name Refreshing because Mokono DJ Fresh. So I said, well, must be refreshing. So you understand, when you are in the game, because I was so much of a people's person, and then I was involved in identifying talent within the thing. So those are the products that I get. And there's a lot that we did. About Jazz Mellows, they performed at our festivals. And it's a journey. I've got so many people. No, those are the kings. Those are the kings. Too much.
Then abantu bazovula ama-joint bebangezi for advisors.
Caprivi was in a league of its own.
Okay.
Yeah, Caprivi was in a league of its own. I think it was the All Places and Caprivi in terms of the standard, the look, the elegance, and the class. But there were people that used to come. And we had a lot of competitors that were coming because we had.
But the biggest competitor has always been Busy Corner.
Busy Corner. No, Busy Corner, you know what, man? That was my queen. No. I think it was Busy Corner and Caprivi.
Yeah.
As much as much as Caprivi was popular, but Busy Corner was leading the way. Much respect for the family as well. Great job that they're doing.
No.
Shout out. Yeah. So they did well, but they had a mature market. And remember, it was that time when your Midrand people, your Kyalami people wanted to come and experience the township. So the only place, Urita, locked them up there. So me now I was vibe. I was, a musician. We never had the same program. But the guys that were openers, I remember there was a time Vulabo Nipos, they gave us a run for our money. But you wouldn't show it. You remember our job was not to show it.
King's Palace.
Oh my goodness. King's Palace ran. But I think one thing I learned about business is that it has to be passion over profits. A lot of people came in for the money. I was in it for the passion. So even when I was not making money, I would still go a long way. So a lot of people, remember there was a place, I think I got strike the other side.
Front page.
Front page. Yeah, front page. So because it's normal, anything new that starts, people will move. They will move. They will say, listen, let's go test the other side. But when you know your thing, people will always come back.
Okay. All right. As many properties,
Yeah.
What is Caprivi Properties?
Yeah, so it so happened in my humble stage, thanks to God, because at that time when I was alone now, lost everything, lost friends, you had to reinvent yourself. And reinvention is very important because now
I believe even before also family stage is in a church.
That's what they're lying. I come from this church. No. But I was talking to someone earlier. I said, so I come from a family. We know God, and Jesus is our Lord and Savior. I come from that family.
Amen to that.
But it was a journey of your dad taught you the journey of God.
Yeah.
But you didn't know God personally.
Sure.
So your life was,
Yeah.
you know, there's money, there's everything. I was a giver, yeah.
My parents, but it's
You know, I was a giver. I mean, I'm a staunch tither. And I was a giver, but it did not have any meaning.
Okay.
You know, I would give to charity, I would give to that. But I'll
give
come here,
because of your
I'll give to
money.
charity, but I'll tell you the story of charity, what happened. So I'll give to charity, give, but it did not, there was no relationship.
Okay.
That is, it's happening like right now,
Sure.
a deeper relationship. So as I'm humbled and now you're down and out, no money, no more fancy car, you can't even drink. I would go in your puza when you pub. There were these cocktail boys that used to go and do cocktail balls. I would drink for free. I couldn't even afford to pay them. So I'm sitting there alone at home and I'm reinventing myself. I actually started. So there's a lady that came while I was at Caprivi who said to me, listen, she looked at me and she saw money. And I didn't have money as a businessman. She said, I'm selling a land, a space in a store, a space in a store. In my heart, because I had started a business. So the world of business didn't start there. In 2006, I was running a construction company.
Okay.
2007, I built a Cosmos City. All right. But by 2008, I was building in Fosloras. So my construction business died there. And then I lost 400,000. All right. Then I went to focus at Caprivi. Because now my Ntswako construction died.
Sure.
So that beef was still with me. Listen, you lost 2008 with the recession time that happened then, and you couldn't carry on. So I had this thing with, listen, you still need to go back to pool party and recoup that money. So when she came, she said, I work for Hazemark. Hazemark was the company that grew me. So I started working for Hazemark. I was an agent, and I remember my boss said, I want you to do Captain Park. I said, give me any place but Captain Park, Tembisa, Edenville. Because I'm from there. Yeah. But I will hustle in Centurion.
Sure.
Nevertheless, I worked. I was going through each and every townhouse.
Yeah, you became a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah,
you were knocking door to door.
I was hungry. Yeah. There's a guy called, what Brown? It's Les Brown. He says, I was hungry. There was nothing that was stopping me. I accepted that I was nothing. Yeah, so now that you've become a principal, you start realizing that, okay, you realize you just achieved your breakthrough. Now you want to start and reinvent yourself, get into the Caprivi business. So I started Caprivi Properties, and it was a business that obviously came from the inspiration to say, no, man, I'm grown, and now I'm in my late 30s, late 40s. The people that used to dance, obviously are now looking for houses.
But I'm a female, man.
But I'm a female.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to come up with a different name, it won't resonate, it won't connect. Hlogi Properties, no, it's too many. Let me start with Caprivi Properties, it will connect.
Sure.
But give them the same passion and energy, And the breakthrough obviously comes now because you're starting with a new partner, a new relationship. And I've got such a great cheerleader, because your support partner, my partner now, is there for me. She understands. Sure. She comes from a government angle, and now we're doing this together. Now we are doing our own family business with a Caprivi brand, and we're looking at things beyond where we were. Yeah. So we said, no, listen, let's grow this brand, let's pick it up. And then let's see whether we can put it into real estate, rentals, property sales, lease, property management, do flipping, do investment. Our cake now is becoming bigger. Because you know what? It's now also a family business.
Sure. You
understand? Because the breakthrough now comes and you go and empower.
Yeah.
So for me, the Caprivi brand is that my son can run with it.
Sure.
And he can do Caprivi logistics.
Most definitely.
He can actually do Caprivi because I do not own it.
Abavuyo mabayenza VUP when awangayizanga iCaprivi beer.
Well,
the opportunity.
No, the opportunity at that time.
Sure.
The production. Remember a craft beer. And when we were coming in, Soweto beer was already big.
Sure.
Do you understand? So I knew that when something is trying to emulate, it's going to either take a long time to catch because now you're trying to do what everybody's doing. And they called me and they said, do you want to do a Caprivi beer? Yes, because they call you, they say we will draft. They've got 5 or 6 times of craft beers, and then they will say to you, we'll name it, but you have to pay a minimum of 35,000.
So currently, beside Caprivi property, what else do you do?
So Caprivi the properties, it's got an ecosystem within it. So our main business is sales and rentals. So which is your apartment sales, business homes, and those are ones. So that's your core.
Sure.
And then now we've moved into property management. We are managing buildings for NHFC in Germiston, which is now our core business. And then at the same time, we are buying, developing and flipping, buying, developing and extending. So I said to myself, I don't want to repeat the same mistake. Remember, out of the bottom that I learned from 2006 to 2017 was that I had the money within the bottle stores business, the entertainment business, and I took it to entertainment. So let me grow this Caprivi properties for 10 years. Do you understand? Let it reach its peak, because I feel that we are a new entrant and there's so many smart property practitioners out there. There's so many smart and with us blacks, see, we're still few. We are still so few, and it's an environment that we can actually change. Look at Tebisa. We don't have sectional titles. We don't have townhouses. We don't have office parks. We don't have. Right. So as property owners and property developers, yes, we can create an office for Palisa's makeup. We can create for your podcast. You need an office park. So I think there is so many possibilities within the industry of real estate that we still need to. So Lake Angala's open spaces that are available, we can actually approach the mayor and say, listen, instead of building typical things, you know, he's got a family, he's got a daughter. Why don't we build him a nice sectional apartment in a townhouse, maybe one bed, because he's building his own family. So I think I'm very passionate about the journey of real estate, and I think it has not been exhausted for me to be able to try too many things, because you need to be focused.
Well, give us your social handles. How do we get hold of you?
On Facebook, Hlogi Makau, Hlogi. Instagram, Hlogi Makau, and then you obviously Twitter, Hlogi Makau, and TikTok, Hlogi Makau. But I must work with you.
Sure.
I must work with
you. Then in closing, any message to our Ranking or subscribers at all?
I think the most important thing is you need to understand that life is a journey of ups and downs. There are certain cul-de-sacs and stop signs that you're going to meet that will break your spirit. The road that you're traveling is preparing you for the highway that you don't even know. So take every day, every month, every year as an opportunity that you are growing to the next level. Things will fall apart. It's normal. Or I said, as long as you're not falling apart. And don't care what people say about you. People will always have something to say, positive or negative. But always understand that you are here to make a mark and to build your legacy. And make it count. And let somebody remember you for that. Yes.
Thank you. Siyabonga kakhulu. Sibonga ukuphuma nathi, and thank you for honoring the invitation. And we are so inspired, ukuthi noma ungawa is not the end of the world.
No.
Sure, vokusithintithe into ebalulekile. Yabo. Uthi una khaya ngihlalasha ukuthi I don't care who says what. So now we just declare it now ukuthi hayi ungabi nendaba ukuthi abantu bathini. People will always talk.
I think my book is now called The Good Fall.
Oh, The Good Fall.
Now.
So, all right. You just got a title now.
I just got a title.
All right.
The Good Fall.
We are so blessed. So when are we launching?
No, next year. And we still need chapters. There's still milestones to be.
So we break it down.
I know, so we break it down. The Good Fall.
Chapter to chapter. So we break it down. Well, siyabonga bafethu, siyabonga. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Bafethu, and hit that notification button ukuthi every time asingene erankini sithi beep now gibele taxing na kanjani bafethu. So siyabonga. So now we came to the end of today's episode. That's it from me, your boy Chem Stage. All I can say to you is Itawola. Aware.